Welcome to the Confidence in You podcast, designed to help you build confidence and create positive, lasting change in your life. And here's your host, Helen Luxford.
Hi, and thanks for joining me again today on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking some time out to spend with me. Today, I want to talk about communication styles and preferences for communicating. I'm going to talk very generally about two different types or styles of communication and preferences that you may have: big picture and detailed. And a lot of the time in the coaching that I do with my clients, I get people saying, they just don't get me, or they're not understanding, or I can't get my message across. And then when we talk about our preferences for receiving and for sending information, and we go through a few things, they go, right, okay. And then they can adjust. So that's what I want to share with you today, a couple of general principles about communication styles and preferences. I'm going to talk about big picture and detail. And you will probably have a preference for one over the other. It doesn't mean you can't adjust and do the other one. It just means you have a preference for giving and receiving information in that format. So if we think about a story, I'm going to give you an example and go through a story. And it could be me catching up with a friend for coffee, and I'm telling you about that. So let's start with that. Hey, I caught up with Sally the other day and we had coffee and it was really great. We went down to this new coffee shop on the corner of A Street and B Street. You know, the one there, that new that new cafe there. And so she had a cappuccino and they didn't really make it right. It looked more like a latte. And then I decided I'd have a nice coffee because I didn't feel like a hot drink. I wanted a cold drink. And then we started chatting, and did you know Sally's changed jobs and she's bought a new house? And then she's decided to paint the inside of her house, and she's done each of the bedrooms in a different colour and a different theme. And, it was really, really great. And I'm going on and on and on. And I'm pretty much telling you about the conversation I've had with Sally in very, very detailed information. And some people love that. I love that. I love going into the detail. I love receiving information into the detail. But a lot of people can't process or don't like to process that much of information coming at them all at once. And to them, it's not relevant. All they need to know is that you met for Sally, had coffee, you had a chat, she's bought a new house, everything's great. They don't need to know the name of the cafe and where it is and what you ordered and how many rooms the house that Sally bought's got and what colours she's painting them. But some people might want that. So what I'm asking you to do now is think about, how do you like to receive information? How do you like to give information? Are you a detailed person where you go into all of that finite detail and you start at the beginning, you progress the story along the way, and you give as much information as you can recall, or as much information as you've got in your head that you want to get out to that other person? Now, if they're like-minded and they like to receive information the same way as you're sending it, that is fantastic. You will get along really well. The information will flow. They will understand where you're coming from, and off you'll go if you're giving them instructions and asking them to do something, and all will be well. If, however, you are big picture and you're giving that information to someone who is detail preference, or vice versa, they're giving you information in detail and your big picture, your mind is going to glance over a lot of that detail and you're going to disconnect from it because it's too much coming at you that you don't feel is relevant. And there's no right or wrong, it's just preference on how we like to receive information. If you are a big picture person and someone's going into the nth degree of detail on something, your mind will wander and you'll notice something else going on around you which will get your attention. Or you may even be thinking, oh my goodness, when is this story going to end? Or you may be thinking, I don't need that level of detail. So if you find yourself switching off or being distracted or just not listening, sometimes someone says, oh, sorry, I wasn't listening. What did you say? They're probably a big picture person and you're going into too much detail for them. So when that happens, you can think about, well, what is it about this communication that's not going well here? Is it the fact that I'm giving too much information? I'm not giving enough information? Where's the disconnect? What is not happening the way that I would like it to happen? And you'll hear me say quite a bit, with awareness comes choice, because in coaching, I guide you through processes and I hold space for you to come to your own realizations. Once you're aware of something, you then have a choice to do something about it or not. And that's your decision, that's your choice. So with awareness comes choice. But if you're not aware of these different styles and of communication and of preferences, then you can't do anything about it because it's not on your radar, you're not aware of it. So now that today we've spoken about big picture and detailed communication, think about, what is your preference? How do you like to receive information? And then think about, how do you communicate with others? How do you send information? Do you do it with big picture? Do you do it with detail? When you're sending it to those close to you or people that you work with, are they receiving it in the way that you want them to? And if not, how can you adjust and do things differently? And it might be that if you are a really big picture, creative type person that just wants that high level, that you give that pitch, you give that story or that outline, and you ask others to fill in the detail. Or if you're really detail oriented, get it all out, write it down or practice saying it, and then pick out the highlights so that you can adjust your communication style to match the other person that's receiving the information, and give it to them in the detail that they need, or give it to them in the big picture that they need. So that's all I wanted to discuss today. Have a think about your preference for receiving information and giving information. Have a think about those around you where it just flows seamlessly and easily. And what is it about that style? What is it about our communication when I'm communicating with that person? And also, conversely, when you're communicating with someone and it's a struggle, what is it about that that makes it challenging for you? And then how can you adjust and adapt to that for next time? So instead of going into the detail, that level of detail about the coffee shop you went to and the name of it and what you ordered and that level of detail, just bring it back up. We had coffee. Oh, where'd you have coffee? Oh, at such and such coffee shop. Great. And then you can encourage them to ask more questions to get the detail that's right for them, rather than you giving them 100 steps. You might give them 20 steps. Someone else might want 80 steps. Someone else might want 100 steps. Someone might only want 10. So think about it from that perspective of, where is this not working for me and how can I adjust my approach to get the style of communication across easier, more effortlessly for me, so that they're receiving the information and they're understanding what I'm saying and we're all on the same page. Thank you for taking some time out to spend with me again today. I really do appreciate you listening to the podcast and sharing it with your family and friends. And stay confident and let your light shine. And I'll see you in our next podcast. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to the Confidence in You podcast. Follow Helen on Instagram, HelenLuxford100, on Facebook, Helen Luxford Coaching and Hypnosis, and on YouTube, Helen Luxford. And access more free resources on Helen's website, www.helenluxford.com. Music, Sunbeam by purpleplanet.com.